Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is April 28th, 2026, and Hansi Flick, ladies and gentlemen, on the verge of making history. Again, I feel like he set a lot of records. Also, how the Mika Godts deal could happen. It's actually a lot more possible than I initially thought. And finally, Marc Cucurella being linked to Barcelona. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. We'll begin this video with the news that Hansi Flick could set personal and La Liga history during this season. Now, Barcelona's victory over Getafe 0-2 meant that the German coach has now completed 9 consecutive victories with Barcelona. This is the third time that Flick achieves this feat. The second time was during this season as well, where Flick's Barca went undefeated between match days 11 and 19, and that streak of 9 consecutive victories came to an end at the hands of Real Sociedad. And the first time that Hansi Flick achieved that feat as well was last season. But so far, what Hansi Flick has not been able to accomplish since arriving in Barcelona is complete 10 consecutive victories. So if Barcelona win against Osasuna this upcoming weekend, Flick would be breaking his own personal record since arriving at Barcelona, which is to achieve 10 consecutive victories. But that's not all. That's not all, because there are 5 matches left this season. Osasuna, Real Penalties, Alaves, Real Betis, and Valencia. And if Hansi Flick wins all 5 remaining matches, he would be breaking his personal record, not just at Barca, but in general, because his best record was 13 consecutive victories when he was a coach at Bayern Munich. But that's not it. I said that Flick is on the verge of making history on a personal level and on La Liga level, because here it goes. Barcelona currently have 85 points in La Liga. If Hansi Flick's Barca win the remaining 5 matches, they will achieve 100 points. And there have only been 2 teams in the history of the Spanish league to reach 100 points in a season. Tito Villanova in the 2012-2013 season, may he rest in peace. Mourinho's Real Madrid in the 2011-2012 season. And if Hansi Flick achieves that, he would be only the 3rd coach or the 3rd team to ever accomplish that in the history of the Spanish league. So let's all hope and pray and wish Flick and the players the best so they can achieve that milestone of 100 points in a single season, which would be absolutely amazing. Now, let's move on to the next bit of news, because yesterday I told you how Barcelona are set to scout Mika Godts in Ajax's upcoming match against PSV Eindhoven at the Johan Cruyff Arena. Now, if you don't know who Mika Godts is because, well, you missed the last video, or I don't know, you've been living under a rock. Just kidding. Mika Godts is a 20-year-old Belgian winger who currently has a contract with Ajax until 2029, has a market value of 25 million euros. But right now, half of Europe want this youngster. In fact, the match where Barcelona will be sending scouts to, the one between Ajax and PSV Eindhoven, it's expected that there will be scouts from other clubs like Man City, Man U, Chelsea, you name it. Everybody's going to be there watching this youngster. So even though his market value is 25 million euros, it's expected that Ajax could want a big, hefty asking price. Since, again, half of Europe want this youngster who has scored 16 goals and provided 13 assists in 39 matches. Pretty amazing numbers for this young winger. Now, given that there's most likely going to be a bidding war, my initial thought was like, I don't think this is going to happen, because, of course, Barcelona are not in a financial situation to enter bidding wars. But here comes the new news, or the new update that could go in favor of Barcelona. Now, as you know, the current sporting director of Ajax is no other than the son of the legendary Johan Cruyff, Jordi Cruyff, who's also the former sporting director of Barcelona. So there's a good connection there. But that's not all, because most recently, Jordi Cruyff was seen at the Spotify Camp Nou watching Barcelona play. And you might think, well, that's normal, right? Jordi Cruyff has a big connection to Barça. No, he wasn't there as a fan or as a friend of Laporta or No, he was there in order to scout players because it's reported that Ajax is interested in several academy players, including Shane Kluivert, Guille Fernandez, Tony Fernandez, and Alvaro Cortés. And even in the first team, Ajax are also interested in Iñaki Peña or Roony Bardghji. Now, how is this relevant? Well, this is relevant because any of these players could enter in a possible swap plus cash, I imagine, for Mika Godts, which again would give Barcelona a leg up over the rest of Europe, who are all fighting for this youngster. And of course, my question to you is, Mika Godts, would you like to see him at Barcelona? Would you trade players for him? And if so, who would you trade for him? Let me know down below in the comment section. Now, speaking of Roony Bardghji, since he is a player that Ajax are interested in, we do have an update in regards to that Swedish winger, because Barcelona are set to meet with the player and his representatives at the end of the season in order to decide his future. Now, Roony Bardghji has not been getting a lot of minutes this season under Hansi Flick, and as such, he has gone as far as expressing his dissatisfaction in public when he did a recent interview or reviewed his statements on the channel. And of course, as far as Barcelona, they prefer not to sell him. They prefer to keep him because they know that he has potential. However, Barcelona also know that Roony Bardghji needs minutes to develop that potential. So Barcelona are more in favor of sending Roony Bardghji on loan to another team so he can develop, grow, and then come back. Or if they have to sell him with a buyback clause. So again, he can continue developing, growing. And if he ends up reaching his full potential, then Barcelona could buy him back for a lower price than they would just signing him from a different team. Now, this is what this meeting is for. Barcelona have scheduled this meeting for the end of the season in order to sit down and decide, hey, what are we going to do? Are you going to stay and look for some minutes here on your own? Are we going to loan you out, or are we going to sell you with a buyback clause? That meeting will determine what Barcelona want to do. And of course, that will clarify to the player on what Barcelona think of him and his future at the club. Now, let's end today's video with the news that Marc Cucurella is currently being linked with Barcelona. Now, if you don't know who Cucurella is, he's a 27-year-old fullback currently playing at Chelsea. He's a La Masia graduate. He signed for La Masia back when he was 8 years old, left without ever debuting with the first team, which was an absolute shame. And ever since joining Chelsea, he has made a name of himself in the Premier League. And this past FIFA international break, in a press conference, or I think it was an interview ahead of the Spain versus Egypt match, Cucurella was asked about, hey, wow, what would you do if Barcelona come knocking? And for the first time ever, he said that, well, it would be hard to turn down such offer, but of course he would have to talk to his family. In other words, opening the door to a possible return to what was his home for many, many years. Now, it's reported that Barcelona could technically sign Cucurella for approximately 50 million euros because, as you might know, Chelsea are currently in need to offload players given their problems with financial fair play after signing half of Europe, half of the world, not even half of Europe. So, of course, the question is, should Barcelona sign Cucurella for 50 million euros? Now, Barcelona currently have full trust in Alejandro Balde. They are aware that he has had a dip in form this season. However, they're not willing to sell him. But of course, they are open to hearing offers if they are, very lucrative offers. And they're also looking to sign Cancelo if he ends up coming for free or for a very, very low fee. So right now, the left back position is not a priority. But of course, the question remains, if it was, should Barcelona sign Cucurella? In my opinion, no. And I'll tell you why. Don't get me wrong. I think at this moment, April 28th, 2026, Cucurella is better than Balde. But of course, there are other things to consider. For starters, I don't think Alejandro Balde is a bad player. Yes, he's had a bad season, but we've all seen what he has done in the past. We know he's an excellent player with lots of potential. I mean, he benched Jordi Alba at the age of 18. That just tells you about all the potential that Balde has. So Balde does not need to be sold. What he needs is competition. Competition that could, well, not only restore his previous form, but also push him, well, into the next step. And I think this is where signing Cancelo would be key so Bardghji can compete against Cancelo next season, and hopefully that would push him to the next step. Now, you might say, well, why not sign Cucurella so he can compete with Bardghji? Well, that's the thing. We don't have the money, so it would either be sell Bardghji and with that money sign Cucurella. So it'd be one or the other, not both. In an ideal situation, of course, Cucurella, you could sign him and have him compete with Bardghji. But in this situation, we're talking about one or the other. And in that case, I choose Bardghji. The second reason why I choose Bardghji over Cucurella, let's not forget Cucurella is 27 years old. So he is in his prime, but in a year or two, he will start declining as he exits his prime. Alejandro Bardghji is only 22 years old, which means he's nowhere near his prime, which also means he's only going to improve and improve. So in other words, Bardghji can give you a lot more quality years than Cucurella will. Now, again, we can get back to the first point, which is, or what we said before, that yes, Cucurella is better than Bardghji at this point, but in a few years, Bardghji will be just as good as Cucurella is today, if not better. And if we end up selling him in a few years, we'll be looking to, well, buy him back from the Premier League for a lot of money, like we're trying to do right now with Cucurella. So we already made the mistake of letting Cucurella go. Let's not make the same mistake of letting Alejandro Bardghji go. But anyways, that's my opinion. I want to hear you guys' opinion. What do you think about Cucurella in the place of Bardghji? Let me know down below in the comment section. And with that, this video is a wrap. I will be uploading another video shortly, so stay tuned to the channel. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. And as always, peace, Barça.